Off the back of that incredible game at the Etihad, a mad narrative seems to have taken hold. And it is time for us now on this channel to dispel it. Arsenal did not drop 2 points yesterday. A categorical proven fact. Arsenal did not drop 2 points. It was a pulsating game of football culminating in an equaliser 8 minutes into injury time. But it really wasn't Arsenal who dropped anything. It's a very rare situation in football where you can concede an equaliser so late and yet still legitimately feel like the victor. But that is exactly how Mikel Arteta and his team should feel. It wasn't Arsenal who dropped anything. Arteta's team got it right. And I'll tell you what, it is exciting because a rivalry is brewing. A storm is coming, and it is going to be so beautiful in its hatred that I cannot wait for their next encounter. And as always with any rivalry, at the spearhead of that rivalry, it's the managers. Arsene Wenger versus Sir Alex Ferguson. Rafael Benitez versus Jose Mourinho. And now, it's Mikel Arteta versus Pep Guardiola. And we know that it's going to be gladiatorial. Now, there was a time fairly recently where the accepted wisdom was that Mikel Arteta cannot get anywhere near Pep Guardiola. It was a fair and just theory. A provable theory. The season before last, for example, Arsenal played Manchester City 3 times and 3 times they got battered. However, 2 years is a very long time in football development. And what we learned after that game at the Etihad is that the chasm isn't closing between Guardiola and Arteta, it is closed. Arteta, over the past 2 seasons, has been perfecting his craft. And I think it's fair to say now that there is at best a Rizzler paper between the two. Last season, Mikel Arteta took 4 points off of Pep Guardiola. And this season, away from home, despite the points tally being the same, it's so different. In the managerial duel that we witnessed at the Etihad, the scoreline was Mikel Arteta 1, Pep Guardiola 0. Arteta's team asked all the questions. It was Arteta's team that forced Guardiola's team into all sorts of trouble, and if it wasn't for the idiocy of Leandro Trossard, I am convinced that Arsenal would have managed to secure the 3 points. It is not often that we can say this, but it's true today. Pep Guardiola was well and truly battered at home. It's not often that I can say this. What on earth was Pep Guardiola thinking? Like, how many mistakes did Pep Guardiola make? Like, off the top of my head, it was more in one game than he's made in his entire City career. Seriously, think about it. Just off the top of your head, where did Guardiola get it wrong? How about the situation where he allowed it to be Ruben Diaz constantly taking pot shot after pot shot, 35 yards, to beat the best keeper in the league at the moment? How about the situation where he allowed Mateo Kovacic to occupy the space that so obviously should have been being occupied by Phil Foden? How did he leave Jack Grealish off the pitch for so long? The unforgivable one, not combating Arsenal corners. We know how good Nico Jova is. Guardiola definitely, obviously knows how good Nico Jova is. City had a warning shot fired at them when Gabriel made a bit of a mess of the free header off the back of the corner moments before he scored the goal. Guardiola didn't combat it. Not playing Rico Lewis. Playing Kyle Walker. Putting Kyle Walker on Gabriel at corners. The list genuinely goes on and on. Now play the same game with Mikel Arteta. Where did Arteta get it wrong? Give one example. What did Arteta do wrong? Did he set his team up poorly? With hindsight, was the team selection off? Did he fail to combat City's biggest threats? Or, from Mikel Arteta's perspective, was it the perfect day? Where Guardiola made a pig's ear of it against Arteta, Arteta got it inch perfect against Guardiola. And the fact that Arsenal were gutted with a point tells us everything. Manchester City should be 3 points clear at the top of the league. They should be 5 points clear of Arsenal. They should have won the game. They were playing against 10 men for an entire half. But City are not 3 points clear at the top of the league. They are not 5 points clear of Arsenal. And the reason that they are not 3 points clear at the top of the league and 5 points clear of Arsenal is because of Arteta's brilliance. Arteta set his team up to perfection and Guardiola had no answers. Terribly sorry to interrupt this video, but please do me just one quick favour. Please click that subscriber button if you are enjoying this video. It massively helps me out and I would love to welcome you into this community. Thank you so much. Click subscribe. Now look, I know how difficult it is to play against a cohesive defensive unit. I've followed England home and away enough to watch England, with all of the ability on the pitch, struggle to find a way through, the likes of Andorra. But the responsibility is on the manager to find a way. And overall, when you think back on the game, it was quite easy for Arsenal. It didn't really feel like they were backs against the wall, did it? Save after save for David Raya? Not really. Last-ditch blocks by Gabriel? Clearances off the line from Jurriën Timber? No. It was comfortable. It actually feels like the game could still be going on now and Arsenal would have the ability to keep Man City at bay. You know, what happened in the 98th minute? The scramble, the desperation for a goal. That should have been happening in the preceding 45 minutes, but it wasn't, because basically Pep Guardiola had no answer. The only reason why Arsenal could feel a bit gutted is because City were there for the taking. They could and possibly should have secured the 3 points. But on some level, what Arsenal achieved is bigger than the 3 points. Arsenal have redressed the balance. Arteta has dominated Pep Guardiola, and that is an existential win. It's the symbolism involved. Pep Guardiola was scared. He lost himself. He's booting the chair. He knew how lucky he was. The apprentice has become the master. And on some level, that is worth more than 3 points. Arteta had Guardiola out of ideas. Ruben Diaz pot shots, trying to reenact the Vincent Kompany goal at Leicester City. To leave the Etihad with a point and be heartbroken is the mentality of champions. I also think it's important to acknowledge the pragmatism involved from Mikel Arteta. He went for the jugular, and then when the circumstances changed, he changed. And pragmatic management can only be seen as a good thing. Parking the bus, as a concept, in my opinion, it's something that we should celebrate. But people don't like it, do they? People get the hump. When Jose Mourinho used to do it with us, people used to get so annoyed. But there are circumstances where that can be the only way. And being a rigid manager, a manager who is so dominated by his principles that there is no flexibility, in my opinion, is the definition of a poor manager. I've spent long enough talking about Ange Postecoglou's principles for you to know how I feel about that one. Overall, Mikel Arteta got it right. Overall, Arsenal should be over the moon. Overall, the statement made by Mikel Arteta could be the biggest thing to come from that game. If City win the league, we'll look back on that John Stones equaliser and say that is the moment that they won the league. The 93-20 that they do for Aguero may get its own version for John Stones. But if Arsenal win the league, and I believe they will, we will look back on that game at the Etihad and say that is where they won the league. Not because of the point that they accrued, but because of the statement that they made. Drawing at the Etihad and being gutted, Arteta getting in Pep Guardiola's head, and most crucially, Pep Guardiola out of ideas, unable to handle or counter Mikel Arteta's tweaks. Tell you what, this rivalry is going to be fantastic. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do me a favour, comment below. Let me know what you think about the points raised in the video, and I really look forward to reading what you have to say. Before you go, if you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. It really does help me out. In a bit.